Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and in today's video I'm going to be following another quilter's tutorial. This is a tutorial by Lori Holt. She she designs fabric for Riley Blake, and she has a blog where she has posted a sew-along that started in January and runs till the end of March. What I wanted to do was to make one or two of her blocks and put them up in my studio, and so I started working on one yesterday and filmed it as I went through the process, and I wanted to show you how that came out. Today I decided to do a little bit of a different project. I had bought this 10-inch stacker of Lori Holt's Flea Market line of fabric by Riley Blake, and there's the label for it and pictures of all the fabrics in this stacker. And I bought this because I needed to add some 30s fabrics to my stash so that I could do those vintage blocks that I wanted to make. Now some of those blocks are originate in the 1880s instead of the 1930s, so I've used a different line for that, but a lot of these are from the 1930s, so I needed more fabrics, and I started using those for those blocks. But while I was looking online, I found out that she started a sew-along in January, Lori Holt did, on her blog, and it's this here, which I think is really pretty. But I realized I could take some of these flowers and make wall hangings out of them. So today I'm going to work on that a little bit. And what I decided to do first was this flower up here. Now if you're interested in this tutorial, there really isn't a pattern. It's a tutorial that she's posting weekly, and she's doing like 2 blocks at a time. It started in, I think it started in January, and it ends on March 22nd of, this is 2021, and but it's on her blog, and her blog is, and her site is beandmybonnetco.blogspot.com, and she also has a video tutorial on there on how to do this flower here. So she gets you started, and then each week she posts a blog tutorial on 2 of the flowers. So I've been following her blog, and decided just to go ahead today and start at least do one of these. So I am doing this flower at the top, and it is, let's see, flower F. And so I cut out all my pieces. Now this stacker has all of the, has one piece of every piece in her line, and so you've got a lot of variety here. But if you want to make this entire quilt, you're not going to be able to get it out of this. You're going to have to buy some yardage, and she's got those instructions on her blog somewhere, which I don't think I printed those off because I wasn't planning on making the entire quilt anyway, so I didn't print those off. So if you're interested in that, go to her blog, and you can get all the information you need to start. But these are basically Dresden plates that she's turned into flowers. So I've cut out my pieces. I went and I bought her wedge ruler and what she calls seed ruler, and just so that I'd have the right size. I do have a wedge ruler, but it's I think it's a 15.5 degree wedge, and this needs to be like a 22 degree wedge, 22.2, something like that. So I went ahead and bought that, and I went and I cut my pieces. And what these are going to be is alternating patterns, alternating prints, so like this. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these in sets of 2, and then sew them together into a circle to make the Dresden plate part of it to make the flower part. So it's the same as making a Dresden plate, only you're just going to have a bigger center. And then for the center, it has this butterscotch colored fabric, and then it has this dark blue, and it has 4 leaves, and they're all a different fabric. And she does her applique with an interfacing on, sews the interfacing right sides to the fabric, and then flips it and turns it out inside out, and then sews it on, so you don't have these raw edges. I went ahead and used fusible applique because I didn't have any sew-in interfacing here at the house, and I didn't feel like running out and buying any. So I'm going to use fusible web and do machine applique from there. So that's my plan for today. So first thing I'm going to do is to sew all of my petals together. Okay, so I'm just going to sew the tops of these and let's get started on this project. So here we have this. Okay, so now I'm going to finish pressing the seams, and then I can start another section. Okay, I went ahead and I pinned the flower and the stem onto my background fabric, and this background fabric I cut 13 inches wide by 25 inches long, and the directions say that the measurement of the flower from the top of the petals to the bottom of the stem is 23 inches, so that gives me an inch on either side for my seam allowance, and that can be trimmed down too. So I've got this all ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and do the machine applique, and then I will put the fusible on, because I've got everything else is fusible web, and I don't want to go ahead and stick this down in case this gets a little bit distorted as I'm appliquing it down, and then this will wind up looking wonky or even get creases in it. So I'm going to do that last, and also these leaves, I'll do those last too. So anyway, I'm liking how it looks so far. I really like these colors. These colors are nice and cheery, and I just pin this stem down. You know, you can glue it down, or you know, put a strip of fusible web behind it if you want to infuse it down. But I'm going to see how I can do with this. So I got to pick out some threads to applique this down. Hopefully I've got something that will match these colors, but we'll see. Okay, I decided instead of doing a fusible center of this flower, I'm going to go ahead and do this interfacing turned edge, and I still don't have sew-in interfacing. I have fusible interfacing, but it'll work. So what I'm concerned about is if I fuse the center on top of that flower with all of the seams, and just how it kind of raises it up off of the fabric, that it's not going to look good. So I'm going to go ahead and do it for this center. So since this is a 6-inch circle and I only have 10-inch squares, I had to get another piece of fabric. So the print on this is different, but it's still the same color. So I'm going to go ahead and just stitch around the circle that I have drawn here. It's a 6-inch circle, and I'm going to use this for the center, and the other piece hopefully I can use for something else. So I'm just going to sew right on the drawn line. And I think I might wind up switching my presser foot. Yeah, let me change that, because this edge here keeps getting caught on the fusible, on the interfacing. So I'm going to put it on my embroidery foot. I really don't want to fight that all the way through the process here. So there we go. I think this will be better. Okay, now I just overstitched by a couple of stitches. And there we go. Now I'm going to cut this out close to the stitching line. Okay. Let's save that piece for another project. And then what I'm doing is separating this here, and then I'm going to cut a slit. And I think I'll go both directions on this. Just making sure I don't cut the fabric. I just want to cut the interfacing. And then turn this right sides out. And this will have, my fusible will be on the outside instead of the inside. Okay, let me get my seam turner thing and just run that through the seam. And there we go. There's the circle right there. And then when I applique it down, since it has the fusible on the outside, that will fuse it a bit anyway onto the flower, but it won't fuse the fabric part, so that won't get distorted. That's kind of what I was afraid of, is this the fusible. When you fuse that over other pieces that are already on your project, if they don't have seams on it, they do pretty well. But once you have seams that you're fusing over, sometimes those seams will show through, and that's what I didn't want to happen. So now this could be fused on here without any problem. So I will do that, but I'll do that after I get this one appliqued down. What I want to do right now, though, is applique the flower and the stem, and I found some threads to use. I have a couple of, let's see, I don't know if they're all Gutermann. Yeah, these are Gutermann threads. I've got, no, this one I decided not to use. I've got a color for the stem, a color for the center here, and this is just an all-purpose thread. This is Dual Duty Plus by Coats and Clark. This will be for the flower petals, and actually this will be for the blue center. It doesn't match perfectly, but it blends well enough that I think it would be better than a darker fabric. And I don't mind if my embroidery stitches show. I'm going to use the blanket stitch anyway. It's my favorite applique stitch, so I'm going to use that, and they're going to show anyway. And so I'll use that for that. So I'm going to start with this and applique the flowers down. Well, I have all the embroidery done on the flower here and the stem, so that's all ready to go. And you can see, I'll close up the blanket stitch there and on the flower. So I think that looks pretty good. I think that thread blended in really well. So now I need to put on the centers and the leaves. Okay, so here's the center. I haven't pressed this because it has the fusible on the outside. My goal is for that fusible not to show when I press it down, and I think it's going to be good. I think we'll be okay there. So I'm going to go ahead and position this, and then press it down, and I just want it to be, I'm going to fold this to find the centers, and just a little finger press, see if that'll work. Right there and right there. And I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in there because I also need to turn it the other way. So I'm going to line up those pins. So those press marks are not that easy to see. I have to kind of turn them to the light to be able to see them. But there we go. So now I can line everything up. And then I know I've got it centered. So let's just put those pins in. And I can fuse this down since it does have that fusible on it, but I think I'm just going to let it go for now. Okay, and now I'm going to apply this down, so I'm going to change my thread again and applique that down. Okay, I still have the same settings, using stitch number 21, which is my blanket stitch, and 3.0 width and 2.1 length. So we're going to go ahead and do some back stitching and then start the applique. Okay, I think that looked pretty good. I think it went fine. I think it looks pretty good. So let's back up. And there we have that. So I like that. And now I can fuse that center circle on, and I could go ahead and cut another circle out and do the same thing, but I don't think this is going to be a problem. So I just need to center this and fuse it on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, this has Steam a Seam 2 light on it. So this is that pressure sensitive fusible. So this will stick down to wherever I put it, and I'm going to see if I can get it centered, and I can readjust it as I need to. So that looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to take my iron now and press that down. And you're supposed to use steam on this. I don't happen to have steam in my iron right now, so, well, maybe I do. I don't have much water in here anyway. Just enough to make a little steam, so. Since I'm going to machine applique it down, it really doesn't matter. So now I got to change to my thread, so I'm going to switch over to this thread and then do the blanket stitch on that. But first I'm going to go ahead and fuse these down, since that isn't going to go anywhere. I don't have to worry about it falling off. And I'm looking at the picture here to see what fabric she put where, and I don't know that I can really tell. This picture's not that clear, so it looks like this one is here. And I'm kind of guessing here. I really don't know for certain, but this is kind of what it looks like to me. And she's got the leaves down fairly low. And I know one thing she's wrote in her instructions was you don't want your leaves out farther than your petals. And so I'm going to take my ruler, and that's in 1.25 inches. So I want to make sure they aren't any further out than 1.25 inches. Let me go in. I'm going to go in about 1.5 inches. And I'm sticking to everything. Let me do this. Okay. This side should be easier because I don't have to worry about holding the ruler down. Place my ruler at 1.5 inches. And I'm going to line this part of my leaf up right across from there so that they're at the same point. Press that down and do the same to this one. Here we go. And then just press those down. All right. Now I'm ready to do some more machine applique. So this looks really cute. I'm really happy with the way it's turning out. I'm going to go ahead and applique this center first, and then I'll do the leaves. So there is the center. So I think that looks pretty good. And I'll do the leaves, so I have to change thread again. Okay, there's the finished block, and I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and can't wait to get it quilted and hung up, and I think it'll kind of cheer up the place a little bit. So nice spring flower, which is great for this time of year when winter's just hanging on a little bit yet, and but spring will be here soon, so just gotta wait. Well, that's it for this video. It was quite a process to make this block. It was a lot of fun, but it's a really pretty block. I'm real happy with the way it turned out, and I'm hoping to get it trimmed up and maybe put some borders on it and get it quilted maybe next week. This coming week I still have a couple of therapy sessions, which takes a lot of time itself, and I'm still strengthening the muscles in my shoulders, so hopefully after that I'll be discharged from therapy, and then I'll feel more comfortable getting back on the long arm. So then we'll have some more long arm videos, because I certainly have quilts to finish, so I want to show you all of that as I come to it. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to click that like button, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification bell so you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And in the meantime, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links, and to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.